think it might be safe to say that Solo Leveling has claimed the top spot of all the freshly airing anime that debuted in the beginning of January. It may not stack up quite as well against the continuing anime of last year, but it certainly does well among its peers. In case you live under a rock and don't know this, Solo Leveling is the anime adaptation of the manhwa series by the same title, a production done by A1 Studios. The story follows Jinwoo Sung, an E-rank hunter whose power is only slightly higher than that of the average civilian. Even the weakest dungeons pose a threat to his life. In this world, there are portals that open up randomly around the globe that lead to separate and very dangerous spaces full of monsters. If not cleared, these dungeons will start releasing the monsters into the real world. They require awakened beings known as hunters to enter and clear said dungeons before they can disappear. Each hunter is given a special role, such as a tank or a healer, that comes with its own associated set of powers and such. It's very much like a game, a mechanic that doesn't quite make a lot of sense until a dungeon raid gone wrong costs Jinwoo his life, unless he chooses to become a player. By accepting this title, Jinwoo gains some strange abilities, but most importantly, the ability to level up and thereby increase his strength. He perceives this as a blessing, but is that all there is to it? My biggest worries when this anime adaptation was announced was that the production side would fall short. Animation, artwork, sound design, that kind of stuff. However, this one has held up really well. I like the combat scenes. They look really well done, with dynamic motion animation and good cinematography. This being an action-heavy series, that's kind of an important part to nail. If your fight scenes are boring in a series that has a lot of fight scenes, you're not going to go very far. But A1 didn't disappoint. So far, it's done well at delivering a visually appealing anime production. One of the things that this series does right is that it doesn't just straight up give Jinwoo a ton of power. It merely gives him the opportunity to increase his strength. So even though he is given some really cool new powers, they don't just skyrocket him into the stratosphere. Even after becoming a player, he still has the same baseline strength, and has to work himself up to that god tier mode of power. What's more, this takes place over several acts in the story, so it's neither instantaneous nor seemingly undeserved. The fact that it doesn't rush into the power fantasy helps it tremendously. Jinwoo also having a solid moral foundation in his motives for pursuing power is another factor that makes him appealing as a protagonist. Sure, he's cool after his whole glow up, but he's a pretty upright guy who's only in it for the opportunity to make enough money to send his sister to college and cure his mother of her illness. That was the whole reason he started as a hunter in the first place. The family-oriented part of his motivations shows that even if his actions may seem a bit roguish at times, he's still fairly upstanding as a person. But thus far in the anime, that's really the most we've seen of the main cast. Anyone else important has yet to be introduced. The world building is a bit slower, but I like it this way as it stops the whole series from cramming a bunch of information into too short a time span. With no pacing issues, a solid story, and great production value, it deserves the top slot for this batch of anime. Right now, it's sitting at a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I like it. I like it a lot. Other than the fact that it's constantly ending on cliffhangers, it's a top quality anime.